Welcome to Barbecue Dragon. Today we're doing another exotic barbecue, and it's gonna be a beaver tail.
There we go. Now we're doing beaver tail the Barbecue Dragon way. The typical way to do beaver tail is you take the uncooked beaver tail and you hold it over a blazing fire and sear the skin until the skin starts to bubble and peel off, and then you cook the meat separately. We think that we can do better than that. So what we've done is sous vide the beaver tail for about 3 days at a low temperature, 134 degrees. So that's not enough to bring. You see in the bag there was no liquid.
Yep.
We didn't cook this so that any liquid fell out. It has all of its original moisture, and also the flesh, you can already feel here, is very tender.
Now, I've never eaten a beaver tail. I don't think you have either. But they're supposed to be quite good, actually. Sort of an old French thing when they were in the United States hunting, before it was even the United States, hunting and trapping beavers, they'd always eat the beaver tail. And there's a bone that goes right down the center of the tail here, and on both sides is white meat, which is supposed to be very delicate and flavorful. So that's what we're after. And our next step is to sear it. We have a good hot grill ready to go, and we're gonna cook this skin and cut it up.
Yep. Cook the skin, cut it up, and then see how the meat is in the interior.
Great, let's go.
Off to the barbecue. We actually want to point out that before we drop this on the grill, everybody can smell the fishy smell from this beaver. It doesn't smell like a piece of chicken.
It's a very strong smell.
Yeah. If you're expecting a mammal smell, it's a little rough.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So we got a very hot grill. We just broke apart the pile of charcoal, and we're gonna sear the outside of it, flip it a couple of times, and give her a try.
So you see how the skin is bubbling up around it? Let's flip that now.
The whole beaver tail seems to be curling a little bit.
Just like that. That's exactly what they recommend for how you get the skin off of the tail. As soon as you start cooking it, that skin softens and should peel right up. So there's a little hole where Mr. Beaver probably got into a fight with somebody, and you can see the steam from our meat coming out there. So the skin has puffed up there.
Oh, you just poked it.
There's the steam coming out.
The skin.
Yep. But it's nice how the skin is easily separating from the meat as soon as we start to sear that skin.
Let's flip it and see what the other side looks like.
Go ahead.
Clearly a hot fire. It's interesting, the thin part of the beaver tail is where we're getting it puffing up and peeling away from the meat. The thick part hasn't happened quite as much yet.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to cut up the beaver tail, remove the skin. We may toss it back on the grill for a touch with a little butter on it, and see if we can get rid of the smell of the beaver tail.
It should come right off of there now.
Just like that.
That's an interesting texture. It's a sort of a gelatinous looking texture there.
I think it would be a good idea to just toss this on briefly, and you know what else? Let's take off this end, which may have taken some of the smell there a little bit. Okay, that looks like a nice piece of meat.
Okay.
Now let's put it on there. I'll grab some butter. Even when you've been overcome with a smell like burning beaver tail skin, we can still toss the meat back on the grill and use the amazing qualities of smoke and butter and a little bit of black pepper. Flip that guy there. Okay. There you go, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for dining with us today.
Who wouldn't want to dine on a lovely grilled beaver tail?
All right, here we go.
We gotta do it.
Need salt. Okay, now here's my my take on it. It's a very mild meat, but it's very fatty also.
Really fatty.
And that's what we heard about the beaver tail. I'm really glad we sous vide this, because let me demonstrate for the camera how soft this meat is. You can literally just crush it with your knife here. That is rich. You know what? It's delicious. That is a food like I've never had before. So as we've been sitting here enjoying a beer and beaver tail, we think what we would change when we do it next time.
The problem was the smell, the off-putting smell of the skin, and we grilled the skin to try to get it off. We think that was probably unnecessary.
Yeah.
So after we pull it out of the sous vide bath, if we were to do it again, I'd just remove the skin right then. I'm sure it was tender, it would have come right off. Probably a pair of scissors, you could have cut that right off and peeled it off and then grilled it.
The reason that people have to burn that skin off is it adheres to the meat in the tail so strongly that in order for them to get to the meat, they have to burn that skin off. But because we put ours in a sous vide bath, the skin was already the meat was already gelatinous. We could have just peeled that skin off. We wouldn't have had to deal with that smell, and that's what would have made a great technique for a beaver tail.
Would have worked a lot better. So.
Yeah. Anyway,
good luck.
A little more stuff. Good luck with your beaver tail and barbecue dragon.
Go,